Hi everybody. I've got a big sorry to say. Well done to Oliver, who spotted that I'd actually missed a couple of pages from the story. So I'm going to go back. I'll renumber them so it's still all in the right order for you. But we've missed a bit. So we left it that the Sandman was huffing and puffing to push the submarine out, but no matter what, he couldn't get it to shift. So shall we find out how they're going to do it? "Come on, boys," he bellowed, but I could see the turtles could do no more than they were doing. Gee up, cried Polly, and she was jumping up and down and cheering them on. Then the Sandman was calling for us to help, and we all of us ran down into the water and threw ourselves against the hull of the submarine. Polly arrived last because she'd tripped over, and I swear the moment she touched the submarine it moved. And then I saw the Sandman's face. He was smiling down at me. "Oh, she's terrible strong, that girl," he said. "Who'd have thought it? She's gone and done it all by herself." You could see Polly believed every word he said, and I knew then we'd never hear the last of it. Do you think Polly really did it all by herself? Or do you think the Sandman was playing a little trick? As the submarine inched away seaward, the sailors cheered, and then she was free of the sand and the Sandman vaulted on board. The rest of us went on pushing until the sea was too deep for us to go any further, and by this time the Sandman was sitting astride the bow, waving back at us, and Captain Sergei Ivanovich Prokofiev took off his hat and led his crew in 3 ringing Russian hurrahs, and they were all for us. "Shivery," said Polly, and I knew what she meant. Auntie Ellery thought she meant something else and rushed her back out of the water before she caught a chill. By the time we reached the cliff path, the submarine was already way out beyond Coracle Reef, the 3 giant turtles still out in front and across the water, and I was almost sure I could hear singing. Perhaps it was the Sandman, or perhaps it was the Russian sailors. Maybe it was both. We'd all had hot baths and were sitting drying our hair in the kitchen when we heard Uncle Rob's car draw up outside. "Who's going to tell them?" said Auntie Ellery, and we all knew the answer to that. "Me!" said Polly, and of course she did. They'd hardly set foot inside the door before she started. Auntie Ellery, Dadsy and I, we just looked at the floor and listened. "And I pushed it out all by myself," Polly said. "Honest!" She had finished at last. Uncle Rob smiled, patted her head, as Barry limped across the room towards me on his crutches. "I've had my stitches out, Mike," he said, pointing to his forehead and ignoring Polly completely. "But it's true," cried Polly. "Cross my heart." "Here's my stitches. I kept them," said Barry, and he handed me a little envelope. "Doctor gave them to me." There were little bits of dark cotton inside. A bit disgusting, I thought. "No concussion," said Uncle Rob. "Doctor says he can do what he likes. Plaster comes off in 6 weeks. "There you are then," said Auntie Ellery. "That's nice." Do you think Barry and Dar believed them? Barry was standing right in front of me. "What happened to you then?" I shrugged my shoulders. "I got wet," I said. "Pushing out the Russian submarine, I suppose," said Barry. "Yes," I said, but I didn't dare look him in the face. "That's quite a story, Polly," said Uncle Rob. "You'd get better and better. For a moment you had me half believing you." And then Auntie Ellery spoke up. "I know this is quite hard to believe," she said, "but I'm afraid it's all quite true. Everything Polly said, every word of it." Uncle Rob and Barry tried to laugh it off at first. Then for some time no one said anything. You could hear the kitchen clock ticking loudly in the silence. "Don't be a cuckoo," said Uncle Rob. "Fair play now." "True as I'm sitting here," said Dadsy. "Everything. The Sandman, the turtles, the submarine, and Captain Sergei Ivanovich Prokofiev. He's the lighthouse keeper's grandson. Just like Polly said. I took some photos. True now." "What is this?" said Uncle Rob. "An April Fool in August?" "Mike," said Barry, and this time I had to look at him. "Well," I said, trying to find the words. "Lot of rot," said Uncle Rob, and there was an edge to his voice now. "Stories is stories, but that's all they are. You shouldn't go encouraging her like that." "But Rob," Auntie Ellery tried to interrupt. And so did Dadsy, and so did Polly. Uncle Rob would have none of it. "A joke's a joke," he said firmly. And this one's not funny anymore. Polly went on protesting, and then Uncle Rob got really angry. I don't want to hear any more about it. Understand? Now I've got work to do. There's a fence down above Whaletooth Beach, and I'll take the tractor. You coming, Barry? Yes, I'm coming, said Barry. I could hear the cold anger in him. Load of rubbish, he muttered as he limped out after Uncle Rob. Peg-leg, Polly shouted after him as she turned to Auntie Ellery. They don't believe us, Mum. Why won't they believe us? Her eyes were filled with tears. Don't you worry, Polly, said Auntie Ellery, putting her arm around her. They'll believe us when the photos come out. They'll have to, won't they, Dadsy? Dadsy was taking the camera down off the mantelpiece. He turned around. I'm afraid there won't be any photos, he said. I just remembered there's no film in it. Uncle Rob and Barry never came back for lunch, and I was upstairs in the bathroom reading one of Barry's Tintin books, the one about the Yetis, when I heard the tractor come rattling into the yard. There were footsteps running across the cobbles, and then Uncle Rob was calling excitedly. Quickly, he shouted. Come quick! I pulled up my trousers and ran downstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time, still doing up my zip. Not easy, that. As I came through the sitting room, I caught a glimpse through the window of Auntie Ellery and Polly and Dadsy herring out across the fields towards the cliffs. Beyond them there was a column of black smoke rising into the sky. Uncle Rob came in, then doubled up with laughter, and Barry behind him giggling like I've never seen him. Uncle Rob helped Barry down onto the sofa and then collapsed into his armchair. They were both howling uncontrollably. There we go. Now, if you've already jumped ahead and heard the next part of the story because I missed this bit, you will know what they were laughing at. But if you haven't, have a guess now. Write in the comments down below, what do you think they thought was really, really funny? Okay, take care and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.